kitty. Ferocious little kitty. Oh, what you got? What you trying to get, huh? Oh, not my feet. Hey. Newest edition. Showed up at our doorstep. So, Ripley, by the way. And welcome to the final day, day 7 of this week on the juice cleanse. It is a 3-day juice cleanse. We've already passed the hard part of the juicing. I did 3-day because, well, ultimately, when it's your first time, it is strongly recommended that you only do a 3-day cleanse. I can understand why. I was a little concerned about the cramping that I was having at night, the muscle atrophy, the work that I had to do during the week and how that would affect things. So I think in all, also the fact that I lost 8.6 pounds in 3 days, which is a lot in just 3 days. We will be doing a weigh-in at the end of this one, just to see where the weight has kind of stabilized at from the end of this, because what we've been doing the last 4 days, from day 4 to now, we went from the 6 that we were doing during the juice cleanse to 4 to 3 to 2, and today we have 1 juice left. We'll be having it probably around midday, and that'll be our, basically, this is kind of like going to be the most normal day of the week on, because we're trying to get back to that point. Even though it's normal, I'm not doing a lot of like really junky type foods still yet. It's going to be more qualitative type food, including this morning. But we are kind of gradually adding things back in as I had my first like real meal that was totally not just like soup or bread. Of course, grits were pretty much of a creamy sort of thing. We're also having something that's similar to grits this morning, so that's not going to change that. But with the salad that I had the night before, that was pretty hefty. Did well with that. I think the acid is the one thing that my stomach is kind of getting back used to, because I had a few little issues maybe with that, possibly. My theory anyway on that, because balsamic is very acidic. But other than that, I think I've been doing fine. And now we're going to start with breakfast. And breakfast, we have a very familiar item that we're doing. We're having oatmeal. Yep. It's a different brand than what we've been using because we finished the other one. And this is one that we already had around, so getting close to finishing this one too. There's not a lot left in that one either. And not just any. We are going to have some fruit with it, because again, we're trying to reincorporate the fruit and veg back into our lifestyle. And what is the fruit this time? Well, since we don't really have any real fresh fruit available, I figured let's try something a little different. Let's see how mandarin oranges work in it. Especially since they're canned. We'll see how that kind of plays out with it. But I thought that might be interesting flavor to add to it. Dun, 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 dun. This actually looks really good. It turned out a lot better than the other brand I was using, it was also a lot simpler too. Didn't have to really pay attention to a lot of stuff. I don't know why. This just worked a lot better. Of course, it's organic, so maybe that has something to do with it. Didn't mention this. I'm also drinking a fruit juice. It's just a tropical fruit juice, regular brand stuff. No like juicing stuff. So we're kind of trying to transition a little bit. I've had this stuff before. It's pretty good. It's always a nice change up sort of fruit drink compared to, like, you know, when I do orange juice or something like that, which is a common thing I will have as a morning small drink to do it. But since I'm not exactly doing hot drinks right now, since I did have other stuff and we might have some later possibly, let's try this oatmeal with this mandarin. It's pretty good. I'll be having this and we'll move on. Out and about this morning. Of course, 7th day off work. It's a little foggy out and about. Can't even see up high too well. Yeah. We're heading to get some coffee, whatnot, so we'll report back on this. Back at a regular. That is Mountain City Coffee. We got the Thanksgiving and Hugs, which is a type of chai tea latte. It is one of the best chai tea lattes of them all. It's very good. Gail's got herself a drink too. Delicious as always. We're back from the annual Veterans Day parade, because this is around the time that we're doing this. And today, it is time for our last lunch. And this is going to be the most normal lunch that I think I've had to this point. But it's still going to be a little bit on the lighter side, because a lot of times when I have this type of lunch, I will have something with it, but I will be having it by itself, and probably in its most basic form. So, we're doing a sandwich. We've got our sandwich bread, we've got our ketchup, mustard, mayo, pickles, provolone cheese, and hiding back there is some lettuce and tomato. Also, the last of the Beetlejuice, the final juice we're doing. We're going to do it at lunch. And then go on from there. So let me get this constructed, show you what it looks like, how I'm feeling with it. Felt pretty good after morning with the breakfast, the chai tea, the oatmeal, everything. It's all good. And we'll see how things go from there. And here it is. Not too bad looking, if I do say so myself. And the lesser of the two juices in terms of the detoxifiers faced with beets. You may ask, why didn't I get the other one then when I had the opportunity? It was out, so this was the only one to get. Definitely the lesser of the two, and kind of not the greatest one to finish on, but sandwich. The real test is going to be how I handle it later on, but yeah. So good. Took a trip to the museum and got a very interesting glimpse of an exhibit
made of glass from fast food images.
All right, dinner time now, the final dinner for this week on. And it's going to be a test of my ability to come back completely because we are doing a sort of plant-based meat and potatoes. So I've got these classic burgers from Jack and Annie's. They're gluten-free, so those are, a local vegan restaurant that we get those from, and grocery store, obviously. And so I'm going to be making those. It's kind of the only ones we have. We don't really have any like custom-made ones like I did on my week on a budget. But we're going to have those. We're going to soup those up a little bit. And we're also going to have potatoes. We've got 2 baked potatoes. And 1 for me, 1 for Gail. And we're going to, obviously soup those up. Kind of similar to how we did the week on a budget video that we did some time ago. So if you want to see a lot more about that, you can. Obviously the potatoes are going to be done different. Kind of experimenting with these potatoes because these are something that came pre-packaged. So we'll see how those are. And I'll be back with you in just a minute. Dun, dun, dun. Yep, pretty good looking baked potato. That's how the burger turned out. So we've got the burger that I used with melted American cheese. We have a little bit of parsley flakes, lettuce, slice of tomato, and special red sauce that we bought at the vendor at Christmas Made in the South. And of course, the baked potato has your usual fixings, which is butter, sour cream, chives, cheese, and fake artificial bacon, as well as, of course, the asparagus. And I've got a little kitty trying to jump on me, and that's not going to happen. Okay, so let's take a little bite of this potato here. See how it is. That's pretty good. Now, let's try to get a piece of this steak burger with all the pieces. That's gonna be good. We'll wash that down with a Shirley Temple 7-Up. And we'll enjoy this. And with that, we're done with the recovery process, which means the entire 7-day process of the 3-day juice cleanse and the 4 days of recovery are done. So before I actually talk about the whole thing as a synopsis, let's look at what now my recovery period weight looks like, given the fact that now I'm back to normal eating process, and see, did I lose even more weight? Did I stay about the same, or did I gain a little weight from the recovery time? Time to check it out. 226.4. Now back at the scene of the crime where this all started. So I gained 8/10 of a pound back during the recovery process. I'm a little surprised that I gained some weight back, but I guess yesterday did kind of pretty much fare as a normal day, but I don't know. The fact of the matter is, the weight loss was probably so extreme through the first 3 days that the 4 days of recovery got me back up to kind of what the more natural weight would be at this point in time. I still expect that I could end up losing weight if I kept up with that style of regimen for a while in terms of the recovery process that I was in. So we'll see. But that being said, That's a total weight loss through the 7-day period of 7.8 pounds, which is averaging about a pound a day, which is a lot better than what I was on pace with after 3 days, because 8.6 after 3 days, you're looking at almost 20 pounds of weight loss potentially in a week, and that's a bit extreme in my case, but then again, this is a very extreme process. Thoughts on the juicing process. It is something that, while I feel was beneficial in some ways, in other ways was very difficult, very risky. There's a lot of things about it that could, if you're not doing it correctly, it could go very wrong. You saw with Gail, after having to drop out in one day, what it was doing to her physically. Her body was not responding as well because she didn't do as much of the kind of easing into it as I did. Not that I did a terrible lot of easing into it like I did getting out, but getting in, certainly I did make some adjustments prior to the day of. I think also the fact that we didn't really know which juices would probably be the best. I think once she took that veg out, she really that was so bad for her that it made her stomach turn. And, things got a little bit harder for her. Did have some issues at times that I wasn't exactly counting on. And I will say, if you're doing juicing, it is definitely best to not do it when you're doing a lot of physical activity, as I was doing. The muscle atrophy during this period is very intense, so the fatigue that you get from it, it is very difficult on me. And while during the workday you don't necessarily notice it, at least for me it wasn't a big issue. It was overnight, sleeping at night. It was really that was the thing that really bothered me a lot. And then of course the weird bowel movements, of course, were very difficult to get used to over the period. And once I finally got past, I think it was even day 5 into 6, I think, was when things started feeling like we're getting closer to normal for the first time. That's when I think things really started to turn, was on day 6 for the better. The key is you've got to have the recovery period. You cannot do one of these things and just kind of jump right back into it. You're going to have a lot harder time doing it, because even with my a lot more careful routine, there were some things that I did that I think kind of still aggravated things a little bit. So yeah, just definitely be careful with this. Do your research. If you're a first timer, definitely take a 3-day. Don't try to jump for the 7-day, especially. Not really even the 5-day. Do a 3-day. Get yourself used to the idea of what will happen to you after doing it. If you are a little more overweight like I am, it's probably going to be a harder thing to deal with because of the amount of weight that you're going to lose. You just really, and also make sure you're not doing a lot. Definitely make sure you're not doing a lot. Keep yourself hydrated. The water is definitely necessary during this period. Even though all you're doing is drinking juice, you still need to drink plenty of water during this. Would I do it again? Maybe. I'm not going to jump to doing this again. I'll tell you that. But I'm not going to say I wouldn't do this again. Not like the James Duncan diet where I was like, no, I don't ever want to do that again. Because even though there was weight loss involved, there were things about it that was like, this really is not necessarily a good thing to be doing in some ways. Whereas this one, you can do this. There are a lot of good things about it, but you got to keep it in moderation. You've got to do everything right. And if you don't do it, then you're really asking for trouble. Jevons, I think, was able to get away with it a lot better through his 7-day because he wasn't doing a lot of physical activity. He was not, he was also a lot less weight than I was. So, because, he's like, at the time, he's like almost 50 pounds lighter than me when he started. So, even though he had a lot of weight loss on that one, I would have almost doubled that amount probably in that time period. So, yeah, definitely not a good idea. In terms of the juices, some of the best juices were the lemonade, the Tutti Frutti. Can't Beat It was definitely much better than Beetle juice. I'm not going to say Can't Beat It was like great, but it was definitely a lot better. The Inspiration one of the greens was probably the best tasting one. The Kale Yeah was, I think, probably a better option as a mixed green, but it was more tolerable than the Veg Out. Definitely. I would say Kale Yeah out of the three, like, basic mixed green ones. The Inspiration's kind of like a borderline one that definitely is way better, but I think it has a lot more fruitiness to it. The Joint Juices is all right. It's pretty good. It's not too bad. The See Ya was definitely the absolute worst of the worst because of the fire in it. If you're not a fan of spicy drinks, and I really mean spicy, burn the back of your throat sort of stuff, don't do that one. But if you do like it, you can take a flyer on and see how you like it. But you might want to test it out before you commit to something like that. Anyway, this was the week on the juice cleanse, a 3-day juice cleanse with a 4-day period of recovery. I will see you next month with our next week on, and it will be a true week on with another diet that should prove to be a lot more fun to do during the time period than this one was. Though the recovery period was quite interesting. I'll see you next time.